Lake Drummond Baptist Church, a very special church that is also very old. It was constituted July 27th, 1850. Do you know what constituted means? It means it was formed. It was started. If it were a person, we would say that it was born. So, 1850 to 2023. How old is our church? It's 173 years old. I know you have seen this before. This little church has been sitting right here for 173 years, surrounded by the Great Dismal Swamp. I think it is a very special sight to see coming down that road. Don't you? What is the name of that road? Wait a minute. Lake Drummond Baptist Church and Lake Drummond Causeway. Why do they both have the same name of Lake Drummond? Well, not too far from here, actually about 3 miles to the west, is the Dismal Swamp Canal. Now that canal is also very old and runs through the Dismal Swamp. Not too far away from the canal, just 3.5 miles further west, is a large lake. And what could be the name of that lake? That's right, Lake Drummond. And that is how our church got the name of Lake Drummond Baptist Church, because we are so close to that famous lake. And if you ever get a chance to go to that lake, be sure to go. It is beautiful. But before our church got a name, it had to be established. There was already another church 8 miles east on Ballahack Road called Northwest Upper Bridge Baptist Church that had been formed in 1782. That church has been known as Northwest Baptist Church since 1820. Some of you may know where it is, and it really doesn't seem that far to us. But in 1850, it was a long way and took a long time to get there. Do you know why? No cars, just horseback or horse and buggy or walk. That's a long way for 8 miles. Well, there were many people who lived in our community, and some weren't able to get to church services because of the distance. So they decided to start a church close to the Dismal Swamp Canal. The canal had been an important part of the livelihoods of the people for many years. There were farmers, loggers, people who worked on boats on the canal, and others. And all those people needed a church that they could attend. So 9 members of Northwest Baptist Church left that church to start Lake Drummond Baptist Church. It's good for a church to start another church, isn't it? That way more people can hear about Jesus. Anyway, there was a man in the community named Michael Sykes. He owned some property, and he decided to donate that land for the new church to be built on. The people worked very hard building the new church. In fact, the lumber or wood that was used to build the church was cut down right from the land where the church was going to be built. But while the church was being built, the congregation... Hey, what is the congregation? A congregation is a group of people that meet for church. The congregation met in a nearby small schoolhouse, and the first pastor's name was Elder Evan Forbes. Don't you know he was excited about what was happening for Jesus at Lake Drummond Baptist Church? The first elder was Elder Evan Forbes. What is the name of the pastor now? He is Pastor Buddy Hoggard. Here is a picture of the church and how it looked when it was finished. This was taken in 1877, and the whole church family came to have their picture taken. Who knows what this picture is? Well, in those days, there was no electric heat, no gas heat, no thermostats. So Lake Drummond Baptist Church was heated with a pot-belly stove. And someone had to come early to start the fire and warm the one room for the church. Would you volunteer for that job? Our church has some other special things. Have you ever noticed our stained glass windows? What is stained glass? When the glass panels were made for the church, different colors were added to the glass while it was soft. That made it more special and beautiful than just plain clear glass, didn't it? Notice the different colors of the glass in the windows, and you'll see that no two windows are alike. They are very special, and a protective clear cover has been added to the outside of the windows to protect them. Even though they are very special to us, they were really very special back in 1850 when the church was built. And if you remember the first picture of the church, the stained glass windows were there when it was built. How many of you have been baptized? Where were you baptized? How do you think the people were baptized back in 1850? Well, they went over to the Dismal Swamp Canal and were baptized there. This picture shows how baptisms were done in the early years. Later on, when some other nearby churches had a baptistry, that's what a baptism pool is called, inside their church, the people from Lake Drummond Baptist would have a baptism service at another church. In fact, our secretary, Faye Cox, was actually baptized at Deep Creek Baptist Church in 1952 because Lake Drummond Baptist did not have a baptism pool. Aren't you glad that Lake Drummond now has our own baptism pool? Do you know where it is? Time passed on, and then Lake Drummond Baptist Church started the first Sunday school in 1867. Until that time, everybody came to the worship service and sang and listened to the sermon. But another special thing happened about 1885 or so when the church steeple had to be altered or changed. And what do you think that was for? Well, it was to put the big bell up there. By 1890, Lake Drummond had its own bell tower. In 1890, one of the local families donated the pulpit furniture. What is that? Well, it was the 3 chairs and the pulpit, but not the communion table. We still have the 3 chairs, but are not using them right now. But the pulpit, where Pastor Buddy preaches from each week, has been there and used since 1890. How old is this furniture? Well, it's now 133 years old. In 1945, the church was sharing the pastor with 2 other churches. They were Northwest Baptist and Pleasant Grove Baptist. The churches would not have preaching every Sunday because the preacher took turns going between the churches. Later on, Vacation Bible School was attended by all the kids in the area. Here's a picture of just one group during those days, about 1947. Notice the open window and the old car. Lake Drummond Baptist Church was growing. More people were attending and more space was needed. In 1948, ground was broken for 4 Sunday school rooms and a small fellowship hall to be built on the back section of the church. Here's a picture from 1950 that shows the new addition to the building. Something else also happened that was very special. Remember the pot-belly stove and that the church had to be heated with a wood fire? Well, new heaters were also added that were gas heaters, and this made the church much more comfortable. No more building a fire on a cold Sunday morning. Just turn on the gas heaters. Here's a picture of the new gas heaters. They hung on the wall above the 2 doors in the front of the church. But they still did not have air conditioning. The windows were opened in hot weather to try to cool off. Well, the church needed more space. So in 1958, they started building out the front of the church. And in 1960, that space was completed that was needed so Sunday school classes could be built up in the front of the church. Yep, the bell had to be taken down during the construction, but it was put right back up on the top in the steeple when the building had a roof on it. Here's a picture when the work was completed. In the picture, you can see the difference from the front and the back, noticeable in different windows. The steeple's different now because it comes straight out of the roof instead of a tower that starts at the ground. And look at that cross on the front of the church above the porch roof. In 1963, the church got new pews. Until that time, the pews were nice, but they were just wooden seats with a wooden back. So new pews were purchased, and they are the very same ones that we use today. Notice how nice and comfortable they are, with padded seats and backs to make us very comfortable. Don't you think they're comfortable? In 1973, the church decided to build a parsonage on our property. What is a parsonage? Well, a parsonage is where the parson lives. That's another name for the pastor. Where is our parsonage? Well, it sits right on the northwest corner of Lake Drummond's 8 acres of property. Since our pastor doesn't live there, Lake Drummond Baptist Church lets ministers and missionaries live there who need a place to live. In 1974, heating and air conditioning was installed in the Sunday school rooms in the back of the church. There was still no air conditioning in the chapel, but in the back rooms only to make things more comfortable for the children and babies in the nursery. And in 1976, an educational and recreational building was added. We now call it our fellowship hall. Also in 1976, air conditioning was added to the chapel, so now all parts of the church are air conditioned. No more open windows in the hot summer. In 2006, the front porch was expanded and a handicap ramp was added to make it easier for everyone to go in and out of the building. In 2010, more space was needed, so the church added 2 cottages on the east side of the fellowship hall. They are connected by a nice big deck and are used as Sunday school rooms, the food pantry, Awana, and other meetings. Lake Drummond Baptist Church has been here 173 years. Our first pastor in 1850 was Elder Evan Forbes, and our pastor now in 2023 is Pastor Buddy Hoggard. There have been many men preaching the Word of God here in all those years, telling about Jesus and spreading the gospel. How many pastors do you think have been here during all those years? I know how many, but I want you to guess how many. Well, there have been a total of 66 pastors at our church during those 173 years. So what do you think of our little church? And what is your favorite part of its history? Thank you for letting me tell you just part of its history and for letting you know how special this little church is.